everybody. Welcome back to Your Bridge Towards Wealth. I'm Christopher Klupp, Wealth Manager at Strategic Financial Group, where we help business owners in and outside of their business expand to their vision. We're switching it up a little bit here and beginning to bring on guests who have a unique point of view on different topics that business owners just like you face day in and day out. Today, we're welcomed by Dan Galos. He's a vice president at the Horton Group, and we're all talking about risk management in business today. With the current environment that we're in, it's a major concern across all types and sizes of business owners. Welcome, Dan. We're excited to have you.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Really happy to be here. Appreciate you having me on. And I couldn't have said it better myself. With the landscape of the commercial insurance world right now, things are quite chaotic, and there's certainly a lot for business owners to be concerned with.
Yeah, it certainly seems like change happens at a faster and faster pace every day lately. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up in Horton, and why you got into the insurance space in general.
Sure. So I actually started off in the banking world for several years out of college. I ended up in insurance like a lot of people do, kind of on accident. I had a good friend of mine that worked at the Horton Group. He said, "Hey, it's a great environment here. It's a great industry, great career opportunity. Why don't you come interview?" I did, and the rest is history. So I've been with Horton now for a little over 7 years. As I mentioned, vice president and shareholder with the company. So I've got another 35 years or so in me. But before the Horton Group, didn't have any insurance knowledge, and in the intervening 7 years or so, like to think I know a thing or two at this point.
Well, as someone who started his career in financial services on the insurance side, I can attest that nobody grows up saying, "I want to be an insurance agent."
Exactly right.
But many of us find our way into the business. So tell me a little bit about Horton. What does Horton do, and how do you specifically work with business owners?
Sure. So my very short elevator pitch, if you will, is if your question has the word insurance in it, the Horton Group can do it for you. Now, it's kind of tongue in cheek. I really do mean that, though. Horton is a privately held agency headquartered in Orland Park. We have 9 or 10 physical locations throughout the Midwest at this point. I specifically do commercial insurance. So that would be your property casualty, cyber, workers' comp, directors and officers, you name it, anything on the business side. But Horton's a full service agency, if you want to call it that. Other side of the shop does employee benefits. So that's your employee health, dental, vision. We do some life insurance. Then there's the personal side that does your home and auto. We also have a full bonding team as well as a safety services team. So again, anything with the word insurance in it, we can do it for you.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about a bunch of different lines, right? And that can be confusing right out there for business owners. I know that because we work just with a ton of business owners, and many of them may be in their first years of running that business, right? And obviously, it depends on the type of business here. But what are some of the biggest risks to small business owners that they should be thinking about in this market?
That's a great question. So because of Horton's size, and we are a top 50 broker in the country, we're able to provide resources that we give to our larger or middle market size clients down to our small and even startup clients. I specifically work in what we call our select division. So that's what you would know as small business. I work directly with businesses up to a few hundred employees and down to someone who just started a business out of their garage. But the fact of the matter is, regardless of size, most business owners are facing the same types of requests or requirements when they're dealing with their contractors, vendors, suppliers, landlords. The insurance requests tend to be the same. What's different, really, for a small business owner is the amount of resources available. So all businesses have complex needs. Small businesses tend to have limited resources, which may mean one business owner or a few partners are wearing a lot of hats instead of having a full dedicated risk management division. Mm-hmm. So that's really where Horton in general is, and definitely in the small business space in our select division, that's where we find that we tend to outshine our competitors, is that we are able to give this white glove approach, if I can use that term, to our small businesses, whereas in other agencies, you would have to be over a certain size to even have a dedicated client manager or a producer working on the account.
Well, fantastic. I know as someone who runs a small business, that depending on the day or even the hour, day of the week or the hour of the day, depends on what sort of hat that I'm wearing. Are
Yes.
there any particular areas within insurance, though, that you've seen pop up? I know a lot of clients that I've talked with over the last couple of years, cyber seems to be something that becomes a bigger conversation. Is there any other areas, whether it's cyber or other areas within risk, that are becoming more prevalent in policies, or areas that you see people perhaps overlooking when you're reviewing policies that people already have in place when they come talk to you for the first time?
Certainly. So you read my mind when you said cyber. And if insurance can be exciting in any way, it's certainly in the cyber arena right now. It's becoming more and more difficult to obtain, but it's more and more necessary for business owners of all sizes to get this covered. Many small business owners I speak with will tell me, we don't have a lot of computers, or we don't keep a lot of data. We're not a big fish. No one's going to target us. But the truth is, it's the exact opposite, because typically speaking, the cybersecurity, the IT infrastructure is not as robust as a larger company would be. So, cyber hackers, if you want to call them that, tend to target small businesses because they have a higher success rate of getting away with a fraudulent wire transfer, or a certain amount of Bitcoin in order to unlock someone's network. So cyber is certainly the number one thing that I would suggest a business owner look at if they haven't already. We also try to advise our clients to look at employment practices liability. These are types of claims or allegations of wrongful hiring, wrongful firing, harassment and discrimination, where an employee, a former employee, alleges that you did this to me because I am X. So to protect the business and the business owners from these types of allegations, we are seeing a lot more of that in the news, and our benchmarking suggests it's only going to increase. From a property and casualty standpoint, we're in what we call a hard market right now, and this is industry agnostic, and it's across the entire scope of the United States. Insurance prices are going up. The latest benchmarking that just came out suggests that property and casualty is increasing 10 to 15% on average. Again, industry agnostic and across the country.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with the concerns that business owners have about inflation, just running their business, the normal concerns of an entrepreneur, that's certainly a concern. So, I mean, so you mentioned a couple things, right? So you talked about raising prices. You talked about making it actually becoming harder to get cyber security insurance. So how do you see small business and the risk management, the type of risk management changing? I mean, what are some of the changes that you see coming up over the next couple years? Is it just the concern about the rising prices and maybe tightening markets? Are there any other concerns that you see within the risk management area over the next couple of years for the small business owner?
Yes, absolutely. In the last few years, there's been a big push into what we call InsurTech. These are your online raters, where a business owner can go online and get a quote in 15 minutes or something. Recently, we've been seeing these companies, without naming any names, post poor financials and actually lay off significant numbers of their workforce, because that model simply does not work for a small business owner that wants to have control over their risk management. These cookie cutter options that the InsurTech companies provide don't allow for this type of control and the type of flexibility that a business owner has to have in order to be successful. So what we see is a drive for small business owners to find not a commodity and not a vendor, but actually a partner that can act, as I said before, as sort of a third-party risk management division. And again, I believe that we're perfectly suited in that space to help the small business owners take that hat off of their head, so we can do the insurance and they can worry about running the business.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a big concern. I mean, you have these companies that are trying to be the low cost option, but often that means sort of the low service option, and they're having some difficulties out there. And there's so many different areas to navigate. And so it sounds like you guys really are focused on trying to make it easier for the client. And then you're also offering, the same large carriers that anybody out there is. And so you're able to get them really the best sort of products out there with a little bit extra level of service, if I'm understanding you correctly.
You have it exactly right, Chris. Again, because of our size, we have the capacity to provide resources to small business owners that they wouldn't otherwise get. Certainly not with these insurtech or online companies. There is very little difference, if any difference, between the way that we quote, service, and remarket, and generally hold the hand of our business owners throughout the year, from our middle market size down to our small business size. So if a client wants, again, if they want a partner versus a commodity, we tend to fit that gap pretty nicely.
Well, fantastic. So in wrapping up here, is there anything else that you think it's important for business owners to keep top of mind as they move forward, as they want to focus on trying to grow and run a business? Are there any other things that they should be thinking from a risk management perspective that we didn't touch on today during our talk?
Sure. If the intent of a business owner is to truly grow their company, and they have an ideal of where they want to be in 3, 5, 10 years, whether that's to continue to grow and pass it on to future generations, or to continue to grow it so that they can sell and retire. If that's the intent versus how do I save a few dollars right now, work with your broker or find a broker that has that same vision and will partner with you versus being a commodity, so that they can understand your business and cater a risk management program exactly the way that is needed so that you can get to that vision. One of Horton's mottos, our vision is leading clients with complex needs and limited resources to a higher level of performance. So that's going to be different for every company, but that higher level of performance can only be achieved if you start off with a true conversation about how to avoid risk, which will inevitably lead to success.
Well, I think that's a fantastic way to end this conversation, because I often am talking to my clients about thinking not just the next step, but 2 or 3 steps down the road. And,
yes.
And that sort of strategic thinking is at the heart of Strategic Financial Group here. And so I think that's a great place to end. I want to thank you for your time today. Dan, do you want to share with anybody? We'll put below this video in our blog and on YouTube, as well as LinkedIn, the ways that they can contact you. But do you want to give your email address or on here, and so that if anybody wants to reach out, they can
Certainly.
get a hold of you?
Certainly. The best way to reach me is through my cell phone, 219-218-4084. Chris, I'll let you put my email, which, just like a cell phone, it's almost like a third arm at this point. So anytime you have you or one of your clients has a need to contact me, and so, Chris, it doesn't have to be for the opportunity to quote somebody. I am very happy to take a look, 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet view of someone's program and simply provide some guidance.
Well, I love that service first model, Dan. Thank you very much for your time today. And this has been Christopher Klepp and Dan Galos, and this has been your Bridge Towards Wealth.